Everything come out okay? You good?
Everything come out okay. Oh.
Hey, I'm Jacob Wierzbicki, and I am drinking coffee with Kyles.
Cheers.
Cheers, yeah. You guys see?
All right, Jacob, how do you like your coffee?
So I do black with just a little bit of cream, a little bit of sugar, and then I let it cool a little bit because I don't want to, I don't want to burn my mouth. Let's let it cool a little bit.
Yeah,
It doesn't sound very manly, but it is the truth.
So Jacob, in 2 words, what are you obsessed with?
Most.
Right now, I would say creating community. I would call it building a network, but I've been working with Q a lot lately, and he loves using the word community. So I would definitely say right now, one of the biggest things that I'm focused on and I'm obsessed with, both with my full-time and my side hustle, is creating that community, creating that network, and kind of building out those relationships and really fostering that.
Awesome. And what have you learned along the way, and what are you trying to achieve? Just by connecting with everybody.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I want to talk about this a little bit more in the future in some of my own content. One of the biggest things that I've learned probably over the past 6 months is that we can talk about something all we want. I can talk about anything, and you can talk about anything, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to be excited to move to action until I start moving to action. So that's like one of the biggest things that I've started learning as I've started to build out my online network as well as my local presence, is that when you start doing, other people start doing, and if you stop moving, other people will stop moving. So that's something that's just been a big lesson for me here recently, yeah.
So don't do as I say, do as I do.
Yeah, well, I think that it's just gotten to a point where so many different people talk about so many different things, and nobody really does anything. So people get excited when they see you doing, and they're more apt to want to jump on board and want to bring you in and create more opportunity for you.
Yeah, Jacob, on that note, we're going to do a show called Coffee with Kyles, we think, and drink coffee with people, and we think we're going to do that. What do you think?
I think that's a great. Could you guys have me on your show? Maybe
I don't think it's gonna work.
Dang, I kind of thought because we were friends, okay.
No, it'll work.
It'll work.
The show's gonna work.
What are we going to talk about? Absolutely nothing? It's a show about nothing, right?
Nothing.
Honestly, you could probably create they have shows for everything nowadays, right, guys? You can literally create a show about nothing.
Watch this become a Netflix original series.
Coffee with nothing.
And
okay.
Kyles.
Can I just pause you guys for a second? I know this is your show, but let me just pause you for a second.
Take over.
Okay, cool. So I came over to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is where our headquarters is today. So the coffee shop that I know and I like was jam-packed. So I came over to this other one, and the only seat that I could find was back here by the men and women's bathroom.
Classic.
Well, it's a nice table, and nobody's come back here. So, anyways, yeah, it's awkward seating for sure.
Well, when they do, make sure to wave as they come back. we want to see it. And then when they come up, be like, "How was it?"
Yeah, everything come out okay? You good?
Everything come out okay. Oh. Caffeinated questions.
You ready to get caffeinated? Let's do it. Hey, Jacob, left or right?
Left or right?
Yes. Which one?
Right.
Blue or green?
Blue.
Hat, no hat?
Hat.
Flip-flops or tennis shoes?
Flip-flops.
Rock or rap?
Ooh. Rap?
George Strait or Garth Brooks?
Oh, you can't do that. That's so unfair. George Strait.
Audible or physical book?
Physical book.
Isaac Newton or Elon Musk?
Newton.
And not the questions. All right, espresso shot. You ready for an espresso shot? Here we go. One big lurching question. if you could have coffee with anybody who has ever lived, who would it be, and what would you talk about over coffee?
I would say in my head it's probably a tie between Gary Vee, obviously, and Henry Ford. And I would probably have to go with Henry Ford because chances of me actually meeting Gary Vee in the future, I mean, that actually could happen. But I think for me it would be Henry Ford. And I think I would just talk about his constant persistence. So I've always been super, super impressed with kind of his story and how he started and how he never gave up. And, like, everybody was bashing him, like, you can't do this, you're not smart enough, you're not be able to do this. And he's like, no, I can, just watch. And he did it. So for me, that's super, super impressive. And I would just, and on top of that, I mean, he's one of the, leading American businessmen for the whole industrial revolution. So I feel like there's a lot that I can learn from a guy like that.
Can we get a Henry Ford quote from you?
Oh, all right. So my favorite one, it's out of a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure either one of you guys have read that book before.
Yep.
But it was when basically they were bashing him, and he was in court. They were suing him for something. The long gist of it basically is that he wasn't, quote unquote, smart enough. And so he kind of got a little frustrated in the courtroom, and he said, look, he said, at my desk sits in a row of electric push buttons, and at any time I could push any one of those buttons and summon to my aid a man who could answer any one of your questions. He said, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just have to hire people smarter than me.
Perfect.
So I think that's genius.
Parting piece of guidance or a question, thought-provoking question for the viewers? Your choice.
I would say, especially because I know you guys are big on LinkedIn, a lot of this is going on LinkedIn or even YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't really matter. I would say the biggest thing that I would like to see more of is I would like to see more creators creating. I would like to see newer content creators. And I get people who message me all the time, and they're like, hey, I really like your content, or I like this, like that. And I'm like, well, why don't you ever comment? Like, start engaging. I'm like, well, I'm more of a silent person. And it's like, well, I get that, but, you talk about not having a following or whatever you want to call it, not having a community or not getting any engagement on your stuff. You need to start engaging with other people and start letting them see your name, and then go ahead and start creating your own content. So I would really, 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 really like to see some new content creators, in all honesty. I would love to see them.
Yes, yeah, and if you follow Gary, he says on Instagram it goes down in the DM, on LinkedIn it goes down in the comments. So that's where the money's at, and by money I mean like the connection with the community, right there in the comments. So at the very least, if you're not creating's not for everybody, but at the very least, dive in and start talking to us. We'll actually respond. We're real people. We'll respond to you.
Yep.
So start commenting, and we'll comment back. I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, that's kind of how
I think we definitely want that.
That's how things went down with you and I, Jacob, is we commented on a few things, saw each other, jumped on a call, realized we're both from the South, and here we are.
This one ends fast.